All right, welcome back to the New Equity Network show, broadcast live on KVCE 1160 AM, the Dallas Business Authority. Michael Yorba, your host, and Ed Baxter, co-host here. We've got Steve Gray, founder and president, Orbis Robotics, on the show with us now. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on your show.
All right, my pleasure. Steve, before we get into all the questions, the litany of questions that we have for you about your product, give our audience just a little background on yourself, and then we'll get right into what Orbis Robotics does, okay?
All right, thank you. The last 2 years, I've been CEO of Orbis Robotics. I'm the founder, inventor of the basic concept of the robot. I have been about 30 years of automated equipment design and manufacturing and management. Educated at Purdue University and have founded several inventive ideas with about 10 patents currently in my name.
What does Orbis Robotics do? Tell everybody that.
Well, we manufacture, engineer, and design wireless mobile teleconferences, which are called telepresence robots.
Okay, meaning these are robots that move around with a screen and a video camera, and let's get into it.
Yeah, exactly. I think everybody's been in a conference room where you've been in a video conference with somebody. What we've done is made that wireless, taken the video conference so that it can be mobile, because conferences in a conference room, they don't just stay there. When the meeting's finished, a lot of sub-meetings begin out in the hallway, in the corridors, or down in the production floor where maybe they're discussing a serious problem that's affecting manufacturing. And those that were on the video conference miss out on that key element of the meeting itself. And this mobile robot allows them to move out of the conference room into somebody else's office where they may be talking on a whiteboard, or down into the production area where they can see for themselves the issue at hand.
How did you get into this? How did they get started?
3 years ago, my father, who was developing dementia and was losing the telephone or forgetting how to answer it, but I was having a difficult time reaching him. And I thought, gosh, if I could Skype with my dad, I could look in on him once in a while and see how he's doing. We're about 2,000 miles apart, so visiting him wasn't as easy as I would have liked. But how do you teach a 90-year-old man how to Skype? So I thought, well, if I could rig up a computer so that I could log on to it and control the Skype call myself, I could look in on him once in a while. And then I realized, God, if I put wheels on the thing, I could drive it around his house and I could hang out with him just about anywhere in the house he was. I could go into the kitchen with him or hang out at a table. I thought, oh, this is a revelation. A lot of people are in this situation and could appreciate having this type of technology. So I went to some engineers that I've been working with for about 8 years, and I told them about it, and we decided we were going to form a company and develop this technology.
Give us some other examples of how this is used. I mean, I could see this in a highly toxic situation where you've got to send somebody, in there. Like, I mean, a reactor that goes off, or a wartime situation. I mean, this, or maybe in senior living. Talk to us about the verticals on this.
Yeah, there are a ton of applications. What Orbis does that's unique from other people that are developing these mobile video conferences is that we try to look at the application and make our robot so that it meets that application. So a great example is we're a mobile society. We've spread out, and that's had a negative impact on the funeral industry. It's more and more difficult for people to come together for a funeral. And so we designed the Carl robot, which is a telepresence robot that is specifically designed for the funeral industry, where we realized that the user is going to be a first-time user. They're not really robotic backgrounds, so it had to be very easy to operate, but so that they could attend that funeral and participate in that funeral, to actually be a part of it, to be able to interact with the people. We realized that when you're in a ceremony of life, you don't just sit and stare at the front like a webcast would do. You tend to look around the room. You want to look at the flowers. You look at the windows. You look at maybe the choir or the people that are, or even your sister who is having a difficult time, and you want to go over and talk to her and comfort her. And so this robot, the Carl, is designed specifically for funeral homes, and they bring them in and then make them available and rent them out to their clients.
Ed, you've got all kinds of ideas, I can tell.
Steve, you brought up something interesting, and pardon me for aging myself, but I can't help but think of the Jetsons, and the robot that was the housemaid, and how smart she was,
Rosie.
and how she seemed to be knowing everything that was going on in the house. Now that's kind of a
Rosie.
off the wall thing, but for some reason I thought of that, and I'll go back to the funeral home question. When you rent a robot, is a robot specifically rented for one particular party who wants to view the event, or are there multiple parties that can view the event? Who actually controls the vision or the look that the robot has in the room?
Okay, so the first person who logs onto the robot gets our software, which is the control panel. It's very easy to use. Basically, it's a virtual joystick. You use your mouse. You can pull it forward. The robot moves forward. There are commands to move the camera around so that you can look around the room, because that's what you do when you're at an event like that. You're not just, you're looking at maybe seeing an aunt you haven't seen in 10 years, and you want to drive over and talk to her. And so the first person gets those controls. We actually allow 5 additional participants who can log in from any PC, any computer, as long as they have internet. They can log in and be there. So it kind of looks like the monitor on our robot. The robot stands about 6 feet tall, has a 20-inch diagonal monitor on it, so you see the people that you're talking to. And when there are 6 people logged in, it kind of looks like the Brady Bunch with 6 different faces. Each of them are able to talk to each other as well as talk to people at the event. And it's not just limited to funerals. It can be open to weddings, museums, where you may have different people wanting to go to a museum. Museum can put the robot in the museum, and now people who may not have an opportunity to go to a Smithsonian, for instance, maybe a young child in Africa who still has access but doesn't have the means to get to Washington, can log on and be in the Smithsonian and hear and interact with the guides and see things that they've never seen before.
Does each particular party who's logged on to the robot, and when you have 6, like you mentioned before, do they have their own reference point, or is there one reference point they all have to look at?
They're all looking at one reference point, so they do need to get along with each other, and the pilot cooperates with the needs of the others. If they, the person who's piloting the robot needs to cooperate, and if people want to look at and go talk to an individual, then they go together.
I could see this once it gets to a point of scalability where you've got affordable costs for the regular person, not just institutions. I could see this a must at every club, every bigger party where people want to participate in the entire event of this. I could see multiple verticals on that.
Yeah, absolutely. In events alone, it's a huge market. And it's ever growing, and we're getting interest. Another great example is conferences. We have a customer in Turkey they're trying to promote their manufacturing capabilities to the world, and they're bringing these robots in so that people in America can log in and go to an exposition of manufacturers and being able to see what their capabilities are and interact without having to make that trip, which is a deterrent for so many people.
Wow.
So based on that, you would say that this product is a lot more versatile than maybe something from Citrix or GoToMeeting or something like that, which would kind of be somewhat of your competitor. Would you say that your main difference is the interactive nature of being able to deliver the product that way?
Yeah, it is. It is the interactive and the freedom. It's the freedom of being able to do more than just stare at one place and talk to one individual. When you're trying to solve one of our robots, the teleporter is for manufacturing support, so that an engineer here in the U.S. can go to Shanghai and into a factory that is owned by their company and be able to provide troubleshooting solutions. And when you're troubleshooting a problem, it isn't just one. You don't just go down and look at one thing. You go down, you'll see maybe and observe a motor that's having difficulty. Then you want to go over to the QA department and you want to talk to the QA manager and find out how that motor was inspected. You may go to the buyer and talk to them and ask them, did the specifications change from a supplier? Can you give me some information? And then you may need to bring that supplier in. And in today's world, you would call up a supplier and he would say, I'll be there in 3 days. Well, you don't have 3 days to wait for them to go to your facility to see what's going on with that motor. You want to have them there immediately. Now you can just say, click on my link, and we're going to be together on this robot, and we're going to go out there and look at it together and listen to the problem and hear what the production people are telling us about the problem so that we can figure out what's going on.
Steve, we've got to take a commercial break right now. Let's come back. Ed's got a whole bunch of questions for you on the other side, and we'll get into the business side of Orbis Robotics, all right?
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. We'll be right back. Steve Gray, founder and president, Orbis Robotics, on the other side of this break.